Whoa, boys. We are on the Straight Talk Express right now, and we're going to give you an hour plus of straight talk on the life and legacy of Senator John McCain, longtime friend of the show. It is a Chapo full court press. We've got the whole team here to, like I said, look back on the life, the love, the career of American hero, Senator John McCain.
The greatest American hero, I think, of all time.
I mean, that's what the show is going to be about today. This is our wake. It's an Irish wake for John McCain.
Yeah.
Was
I'm
he
not drunk yet.
Was he Irish?
We'll get there.
No.
He was a goddamn Scotch-Irish bog monster, like every other of the most diseased people in American political history.
Keep rolling. Yeah, throw your hands up. Yeah, throw your hands up.
Tolkien got the way that they make orcs from knowing about Scotch-Irish people.
So, yeah, I mean, John McCain passed away. He succumbed to his brain cancer.
Owned.
Okay, so, I mean, I read yesterday in his will, he requested that both Barack Obama and George W. Bush speak at his funeral at the National Cathedral. They're going to play the Paul Walker Wiz Khalifa song, definitely. But no, I mean, look, I mean, the takes write themselves. Like I can see what's coming as clear as my hand in front of my eyes. Barack Obama and George W. Bush are going to speak at McCain's funeral, and everybody is going to say, just for a brief moment, America was united again, and they spoke to our better angels, and they raised our nation, but also, and most importantly, sort of slyly and implicitly condemned Donald Trump.
Let me be clear. John F. Kennedy was a great friend to the cause of the global caliphate.
I like how through all this, like George W. Bush is a big background player. George W. Bush was crueler to John McCain than Donald Trump ever was.
Oh, yeah.
All Donald Trump's biggest sins against the McCains was being like he was a bad pilot, which if McCain was
It's funnier.
It's funnier if McCain was like a cooler person. He'd be like, yeah, it kind of sucked. It's like me with video games. I like to believe I'm very good, but after a while I'm like, yeah, I'm not so good. McCain could do that with being a pilot, but he can't because he's too much of an asshole. Meanwhile, George W. Bush did robocalls in the 2000 Republican primaries, his campaign, saying that McCain's adopted daughter was an illegitimate black child he conceived in Vietnam. And McCain was like, I forgive you, who cares? Like, crueler than anything. Trump couldn't, get it together to do a robocall or anything.
Yeah,
but,
that's the thing, is that George W. is in his prime, was a really kind of focused frat boy bully.
Mm-hmm. And also, Obama and Bush, those are the guys who owned him. Those are the guys who stood between him and his lifelong ambition of being president and getting to initiate a global nuclear war. And they're just going to stand there and be like, yep, our vanquished foe, we respect him. I mean, Trump just said some, hilarious insults about him. He didn't actually stop him from being president. Ultimate cuck move.
Trump also, he was so nice he wanted to make up with John McCain so much that he passed and signed a tax bill mandating it so none of McCain's shitty kids would ever have to work. He knew that they were as dumb as their dad. And he was like, here you go. And McCain was still not big enough of a man to make up with him.
Let's talk about Trump, though, because one of my favorite things happening right now is all of the people, how dare you, sir, that Trump has not had the official White House flag at half-mast for Trump.
Oh, my God.
And I've literally seen people being like, this will not stand. If you have a flag, fly it at half-mast. Everyone put their flag at half-mast.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. There are going to be liberals arrested for, civil disobedience, but it's putting the Arby's flag at half-mast. Climbing the flagpole at In-N-Out and shit.
We also know that the White House comm shop, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, had apparently, according to news sources, a prepackaged, pre-written statement all ready to go for John McCain about what a hero and what an honorable man he was, that Trump personally spiked and put out a Twitter statement just saying thoughts and prayers with your family. Prayers
that's how
up
you
for a
do
real
that.
one. Bless
that's
up.
how you do that shit.
Yeah, though, that Sarah Huckabee Sanders, for all of her bullshit, is a real student council president kind of bruiser.
Yeah.
She definitely she burnt that obit into wood in a pyrography class.
She's a real pick flick girl.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite thing about the Trump thing is? He like put an Instagram condolence to John McCain over a picture of himself. That's amazing.
God tier.
He has such a powerful brain. It's like he looks so bad in every picture, but particularly bad in this picture. He's like, oh damn, looks like you lost again. By the way, here's my disgusting body. Like he legitimately thinks he looks good in that picture. Like, it's just such a fuck you.
It is a continuous thing where I feel like the kind of libs are gaslighting me, like, every time I read anything where they're like, look at what he's doing. He's sending secret messages. It's like, he's so senile. He's so syphilitic or something. Like, it's just so obvious. And this is why I think we need multi-generational households, because you should be able to see what a brain dying looks like.
This is augury. It's watching the trails, the paths of birds, and trying to divine wisdom from it. So my favorite thing I saw today, I just caught it from coming here, is that Trump is in some unrelated meeting with, I don't know, I think with a head of state or something, the Prime Minister of Niger, asking why he gets to use that word. And the White House press corps had to be ushered out of the room because they were yelling at Trump and asking, any comments on John McCain? What do you think about John McCain? What do you think about John McCain? And, Trump's obviously not responding, just grinning there like an idiot. And everyone is just in such a high dudgeon about this, including friend of the show, Joan Walsh, whose blurb can be found on the front cover of our book.
No, I mean, this is the overall thing. Like, in the next week or so, like, as you listen to the show, you are going to be hit with just a tsunami of the most sanctimonious bullshit imaginable from the political press, because John McCain really was the avatar of everything they believe in. And I want to go into why. In that, like, he was someone who got infinite mileage out of occasionally going against his party and putting country first. But again, only doing that, like, he would make statements against his party, but it would almost always end up signing on to the bad thing as well. But the thing is, like, in the Washington media, you only get press for doing a good thing if you spent your entire career doing bad things. Mm-hmm. So, like, the fact that John McCain came out against, torture during the Iraq War, everyone was like, gave him a huge standing O for that he, broke with Dick Cheney and George W. Bush. But, like, whereas if you had spent your entire career in politics, like, a Dennis Kucinich or Mike Gravel figure, just generally being opposed to pointless violence and dehumanization and slaughter of any kind, you would get no credit for that whatsoever.
What they like is a massive war hawk that nonetheless has lines.
Yeah, and here's the thing. What you're seeing right now, like, I had, seeing, like, Maggie Haberman or, like, all these people just saying that, like, the nation is in mourning right now. And I just want to be like, no. What you mean we, white man? You know what I mean? Like, not everyone is mourning
No
him.
one fucking gives a shit.
And, most importantly...
shitty, mean old man.
No, most importantly, here's who's not mourning John McCain. Not us, the, shitty dirtbag leftists. All of the Republican base. Every single Trump supporter is pissing on his grave right now. If you look in the comment section of any Fox News story or any right-wing forum or any major right-wing media figure, everyone is talking about what a traitor he is, how he's in hell right now. Trump has 90% approval rating from his base. So who are all these people talking about what a hero and what a great figure John McCain is? It's journalists and it's liberals.
By the way, the Q theory is that he killed himself because he was about to be arrested for doing Pizzagate.
Yeah, no, he did. It was a military tribunal. He was going to be put before by a military tribunal for doing military pedophilia, which is the worst kind.
Yeah, they
10 years old hut.
They put him before the Star Chamber, and they gave him the option of, like, the Roman suicide, where you inject yourself with brain cancer.
So yeah, all of the Republicans, all the conservative movement, none of the people who really subscribe to this or believe in it like John McCain or think he's a hero. It's only liberals and the political press. The political press I understand, but for everyone else who is, like, going, party over country right now is not the time to, bring up even any mild criticism of his actual political impact on this country. My question is,
Why? Why
are you doing this?
Well, I think some of it is that he was having all these deathbed regrets, but they were in no way a concession of his own moral failings. Like, he would be like, well, the Iraq War was a mistake. He means it was a strategic mistake.
Yeah.
He doesn't mean that it was, like, murderous and completely unnecessary. He means like, well, that didn't work out well for us.
Yeah.
Which he was doing, like, as soon as Bush's popularity started to tank a little bit. He's like, we could be running this thing that we absolutely need to do 100% a little better. Like, that was the Republican, like, fucking Chuck Hagel is the same way. That was the move if you were, like, one of the last of the dying breeds of the, quote, Republican moderates in 2006 and 2007, was to admit that the Iraq war was going poorly, which it was. He doesn't, he 100% still thinks we should have gone there.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, and also, I would have accepted, like, a true, like, deathbed confession.
Yeah.
Like, I would have been like, fuck you, old man, but at least you did something good on the way out. But he wasn't like, there was no clear weighing on his conscience. He's like, it was a mistake. He never used words like atrocity or anything like that.
Well, and it's not like he stopped after the Iraq War promoting every fucking military adventure he could get his hands on. He wrote about up until his death. He was annoyed that we didn't go into Syria. He was annoyed that we didn't send more arms and soldiers to the Ukraine. He was basically pissed that he missed World War III.
And getting a little bit into the man's life, like, there were obvious reasons why the press liked McCain so much. He was nice to them. Like, he would basically throw these parties for them, like his straight talk barbecues. He would talk to them. He would give them quotes. He knew how to play these people, because to be a journalist in America, you have to be, for the most part, this is the majority of national level journalists, not local reporters, but the majority of national ones, you have to be just a fucking cretin who believes cretinous things and will just, the moment anyone is nice to you, you just fucking roll over on your belly and expose your smooth genitals. But McCain was also a bit of a hero to them, because McCain was somebody who, unlike, his successors that he sort of brushed up against in the Republican and Democratic Party, he was someone who it seemed like he had gone through some struggle. Now, if you actually look at it, McCain was, the trend in his life was he experienced maybe 0.001% of the punishment he deserved. Like, he flies over Vietnam just dropping death and chemicals. And what? He gets the same prison sentence you get for unarmed burglary. Oh, his shoulder doesn't work. Oh, no. Talk to the people that he just flew over. After, by the way, he camped the plane respawn and got to keep getting in them because his dad owned the server. But, okay, so he gets that. He gets that. And he gets out, and it's like, oh my God, what a hero, what a hero. This guy who, how many bodies did he have on him at that point? How many fucking bodies did this fucking wide-faced cretin have at this point? Then he, after savings and loan, after everything, he looks a little contrite. He's a little sad. And that's enough. That's enough for journalists in the early 90s. Then, after just years of larceny, after years of abusing his power, getting MMA banned in America, all this shit. No, well, he got MMA banned in America because his fucking wife, who he left his other wife when she was on her fucking sickbed, Mary Cindy McCain.
The one that looked a lot like Sarah Palin.
Yep. Mary Cindy McCain, this heir to this Anheuser-Busch distributor who makes...
A bird woman.
Bird woman.
Her and Callista Gingrich, actually birds. No one talks about this. They're birds.
Their family, deep in business with boxing, somehow gets the up-and-coming competitor banned. Just savings and loan, all this evil shit he's done forever. Then it's 2000, and look who's throwing me barbecues. Oh, whoops. Oh, George W. Bush was mean to him. Then his punishment for the rest of the time is that he has to hug George W. Bush, smile at this man he hates, and he stands up to him 2 or 3 times, and that's enough.
I want to go through the McCain legacy, but before I do, Felix, you mentioned that the press loved him because he's nice to them. I would dispute even that. They all love him, but if you read all of these like touching remembrances about how cool and fun he was, they all have a weird quality. It doesn't really seem like he's being nice to them. It seems like he's being a massive asshole, which I can only conclude that every other senator is either the most blank person, the most zero personality imaginable, or like a Albert Fish level psychopath.
I think it's a mixture of both.
It's because these journalists are piss pigs.
They're shame pigs. They love being negged. And again, to extend it to
and they're also they're little nerdlets, and they want a daddy to dom them.
Yeah,
they want to get bossed around by a father figure like the one they never had or whatever.
That's why Jim Webb even got any coverage at all. Like, there was like, it's an ancient memory now, but there were like Mark Halperin and who's the other fucking guy?
John Heilman.
Yeah, John Heilman. Like exhaustive profiles of Jim Webb and what a maverick he was. And it's like, what do you think like Jim Webb said to these just fucking round, fleshy journalism oafs? What do you think this man who brags about killing people and talks about reverse racism on a national stage thought of these guys?
Well, I mean,
they want to be bossed around by a military daddy. Yeah.
Let's not forget the purely kind of economic motivation they have for it is that he moved a lot of ink. People loved reading
give
about
me a quote too,
McCain's or something.
which is what they lived and died by. And he was always, I mean, my God, he'd show up to any fucking bullshit event or show.
Yeah.
Talk to anybody, drop a quote for anything, and that's huge.
Oh, he was a media creature. Absolutely.
He knew how to play the game too. Like, you remember when he was drawing out the Obamacare
God.
vote, like his last great act. He says right before he finally goes against Trump, the 17% of the time he would vote against his agenda. He goes, "You want to see what I'm going to do? Stay tuned." It was all a show to him. It was pro wrestling, but it is these people. They bought the face.
Oh
So-
my God, I just figured it out. Okay, Trump is reality TV. McCain was prestige TV.
I want to go through like the McCain legacy right now. I want to go through some of like the greatest hits of his career, which we're going to hear. And like I said, prepare yourself for the week to come. Beginning with like the centerpiece of his his courage and like the thing that everyone loves about him the most, his service in Vietnam, and in particular his time as a POW. And the thing that everyone references is that he had a chance to be released early, but he chose to stay and made sure that all of the officers who were in prison there were released in the order that they got there, right? Which is like, in that context, yeah, that's an honorable thing to do in that situation, to let someone else who'd been there longer go first. However, the entire political press and everyone who's referencing this is completely unable to reckon with why he was there in the first place.
No, they act like he got fucking kidnapped by the
Yeah.
Symbionese Liberation Army and then Shanghaied and sent to fucking Hanoi.
He was the son of an admiral who volunteered to be a Navy pilot to drop bombs on Vietnam from 1968 on. And by the way, I think Tom Skoka or someone else pointed this out. Most of his imprisonment in Vietnam took place after Nixon had purposely prolonged the war another 4.5 years. So thank him for his stay there as well. But again, like, he was the bad guy in that war.
Yeah.
The
pilot is an especially vile class, in my view. It's George H.W. Bush. He was a Navy pilot in World War II, and he was at Andover when the war started, and all of his elders were saying, no, we need you to stay at your fancy prep school or Andover to Yale, and you need to graduate and become the leaders and let the draft sort it out, let the chaff fight. But Bush was excited to make a name for himself, and he was just excited to be a knight of the sky.
Yeah.
Is what they viewed being a pilot as. And McCain's the same way.
It's a resume builder too. It's like the equivalent of doing like Teach for America for libs that are going to go on to become corporate lawyers.
Well,
And
in another feudal society in Saudi Arabia, the only prestige, the military is just sort of a jerk-off profession over there, except for being a pilot, because that's the cavalry of the 20th and 21st century. And for McCain, that's what it was. That was the aristocratic military position.
I assumed their ground troops was just like a fleet of Lamborghinis or something.
I mean,
Yeah.
Matt, I think you said on a recent show, like, Vietnam didn't happen. It's only like just movies and like what we remember from movies and TV shows.
And that is American heroism and suffering. And that's all that it was. It was a pageant of American trauma. And McCain is just an example of that. Someone who suffered unjustly.
He suffered so greatly during the Vietnam War, but again, he was part of a war machine that dropped more bombs on Southeast Asia than the United States did on Germany and Japan during all of World War II. I think just during Operation Rolling Thunder, which meted out untold civilian casualties. At the end of the day,
over 100,000.
we're talking about millions of people that were killed by the United States military during Vietnam. Again, another completely unjustified war of aggression.
Also, again, it's not just that people were killed, the environmental devastation of that war left congenital violence on the children that were produced by the people who survived that war.
People in Laos and Cambodia to this day are still killed by unexploded U.S. munitions dropped on their country.
This is just birth defects and shit.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
Agent
horrifying.
Orange. Yeah, I mean, the list goes on and on of. I mean,
There's no clean war,
Exactly,
obviously, but this was particularly horrifying.
Again, the inability of the political press or anyone who references his, like I said, in that context, honorable decision to stay longer than he, passing up the opportunity to leave. I'm sorry, I have completely unable to categorize, to conceive of the Vietnam War as an atrocity, which is what it was.
Yeah.
Right. And so Rolling Thunder, that was Johnson's and Westmoreland's campaign to bomb North Vietnam with no real military purpose. This is just to inflict terror and force them to the bargaining table in advance of the election. And afterwards, McCain said that, I believe he said this in one of his autobiographies, that the problem was we weren't bombing useful military installations. Generals didn't know what they were doing. We should have bombed more stuff.
Well, yeah, that's the refrain of that was sort of a very popular. That was sort of an underpinning to the Reagan Revolution, that type of conservatism. The people who, and McCain kind of did this with Iraq. Someone didn't let us win. That famous line from Rambo 2.
So don't say that, John McCain was just a cog in this war machine. He wasn't the one making decisions. No, he wanted more. He wanted to do more.
And when he came home, he was a propaganda tool for the war effort.
Yeah, you praised Nixon.
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, it's not as if the entirety of U.S. servicemen and women at that point were totally brainwashed to, I think, the degree they kind of are now. It's much more homogenous opinion that whatever we're doing in X foreign country is good. There was an incredibly vibrant, GI anti-war movement at the time. You saw visibly a ton of soldiers who were defecting and going to jail for refusing to serve. So it's not like you could attribute it completely to groupthink. There were dissenting servicemen and women that refused.
I mean, say what you will about John Kerry, but at least he comes back and says, "Oh yeah, that's bad. We're just doing war crimes over there."
John Kerry sees that. John Kerry comes in, goes in front of the Senate and goes, "I would like to make a statement." He can do that, and John McCain can't.
Yeah.
Ernest just heard all we're talking about McCain and just retched on the floor.
I feel you, fam.
He's so old.
Yeah.
You know what? To put a bow on the Vietnam talk, imagine when people are talking about John McCain, just replace, take all the fucking breathless bullshit, all the hand wringing, all the fake tears. When everyone replace his.
Sorry. He's still going.
Oh yeah, he's still vomiting. Replace John McCain's name in any obituary, any breathless article, any smarmy tweet. Just replace his name with Chris Benoit. Actually, I mean, John McCain killed significantly more people than Benoit. But
Absolutely, and Benoit was, by the end of his life, not really responsible for his actions. His brain had been turned to slurry by CTE.
I don't even like wrestling, but Benoit contributed way more to humanity than John McCain.
Actually,
anyway, at least he made those the people who watch wrestling. At least he made their lives better.
Somebody should make one of those browser plugins that just changes the name of John McCain to Chris Benoit.
And you know what? I'm going to start it now. I would like everyone to start believing, this isn't true, but I want you to start believing it. A, Meghan McCain is secretly Chris Benoit's daughter. B, Adam 22 is John McCain's illegitimate son. I don't care that it's not true. You have to start believing it. I need you to help me ruin this man's legacy. Let's go.
Here's my final thought on the Vietnam peg to his legacy. I read today that the Vietnamese colonel who is in charge of the Hanoi Hilton, his jailer and tormentor, issued a statement today that said it was very, very heartfelt condolence to the McCain family, and said that he very much admired John McCain, particularly for his efforts later in life to normalize relations between the United States and Vietnam. To which I would say, you know, good for that guy. You can always feel sympathy for your enemies when you defeat them.
That's just called. Being a good sportsman.
I would honestly, like, I would have kind words for John McCain as well if we had defeated him in this country as well.
Meanwhile,
Well, we kinda did.
his words for that guy were a little different. Yeah, if we were to believe him, he hated that man and everyone like him right up until the moment he croaked.
And
I hate poor sports.
I mean, to be honest,
my
like
God.
the torture of any POW is wrong and not to be celebrated. However, those American officers were treated far better than Americans treated any Vietnamese person
Absolutely.
during Vietnam.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, they could have just been killed. They could have
Yeah.
just killed them on
I
site.
mean, not just that, like torture. Of
Yeah.
No, we
Yeah.
tortured the
And then-
fuck out
yeah,
of people
yeah.
in Vietnam.
Yeah. Okay. So just
Have you guys ever ridden the cyclone at Coney Island?
Yes.
Okay, so when you get to the very top of the first drop, this is the oldest functioning roller coaster in the world. You see an American flag, an Italian flag, and a POW MIA flag, and you're like, God, I've made a mistake.
When Kerry came back, he said to the Senate, "Whom amongst us has not been torturing Charleses?"
So okay, moving on to another big peg in the career of John McCain. This is when he had was already a senator, well established. The Keating Five savings and loan scandal. He was one of the Keating Five. For those of you who don't remember that, he basically helped swindle the life savings from thousands of Americans. One of the top political scandals in American history. Basically, the Lincoln savings and loan collapse ended up costing the taxpayers of America $3.4 billion. For his role in this, he received only a reprimand, citing his poor judgment from the Senate Ethics Committee.
Well, that thing is, that's why he became Mr. fucking Too Damn Campaign Finance. That's why he was this. Then they never talked about that. When he started running in 2000, he was Mr. Too Damn Campaign Finance Reform. And just the fact that he had decided, you know what, now that I got caught just blatantly taking money from this fucking crook, I've decided that, the thing that I did blatantly is wrong because I got caught doing it. And it was never framed that way. They never talked. It worked. It was a fucking PR washing move. And it worked. And then the motherfucker, he gets one piece of legislation passed, McCain-Feingold, which is immediately fucking overturned by a Citizens United ruling that was vindicated that was decided by judges that he had all voted for because he was a fucking conservative. And it was just the whole political fucking first of all, campaign finance is one of those classic sad lib things. It's like, well, we can fix this thing. We can slap some paint. We can throw some bonding on this thing and get it across the finish line if we just get this money out of there. But beyond that, it was just a goddamn PR move to become associated with the thing that was one of his big ethical lapses. So congratulations for basically once again just rolling the press.
I feel so bad for people who are like really into campaign finance reform. That's just like one level above being like, oh man, what if we played the song Imagine for Donald Trump? That's just like just a slight level above that, thinking that would work.
Moving on, there was his vote against recognizing Martin Luther King Day as a national holiday. That's pretty good. He's probably talking about that with Aretha Franklin right now.
We're referencing possibly the worst tweet ever made. Possibly the worst.
Was this Anna Navarro? Yeah.
Yeah. Where she was like, it makes me smile to think that John McCain and Aretha Franklin are hanging out up there, which is like neither of those people are happy to see one another. Neither.
Well,
for very different reasons.
Racist friend.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the next one on my list of McCain achievements. The bomb Iran. Iraq wasn't enough for him. He was also completely gung-ho for Iran. And for everyone who's going to listen to this show or saw our tweets during the past day, who are so disgusted that we make a joke about someone dying, bomb Iran. Hey, that was a joke too. What's your problem? He was joking about starting another fucking war that would kill another few 100,000 people. It's just jokes. He was just joking. Come on, calm down. He's just joking.
That's why we fired him from the podcast.
Yeah, he's just joking. These are just jokes we're talking about right now.
It's sad though. He was so good at riffing.
But that's really
these are just jokes, and in that spirit, I have a joke as well. He may not be a Peter Jackson splatter film, but he is brain dead.
Oh man! Yeah, so he advocated for an Iran war that he sadly didn't get before he died. Although I'm sure it's going to be called Operation Rolling McCain when they finally bomb Tehran. But Libya, down for it. Syria intervention, good start. Why not more?
Everything.
Could we have some more armed moderate rebels and maybe a U.S. intervention there? Or Ukraine? Yes, more war. Please give it to me. His whole thing was everywhere and at all times maximal conflict, ratchet everything up to the point of violence. He loved it. It satisfied some honestly deep and horrifying bloodlust that was very helpfully in coincidence with the imperatives of the military state. And that's why any encomium to this guy, any one of these fucking tweets or articles about how he's an embodiment of American decency, you're basically saying that a lifetime spreading bloody imperial mayhem from Southeast Asia to the Middle East means nothing, that the lives of those millions of people that he helped end mean nothing if he can be a paragon of decency.
He was exceptionally militaristic. Like,
yes,
to the
even
point
by American
where, like,
standards.
just like conservative capitalists were not necessarily as enthusiastic as he was, because they're like, what will this do for business?
Hey, do you guys remember this one? We're all Georgians now. Again, calm down, dude.
I did not sign
fuck?
up
Yeah,
for that.
yeah, dude, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm not going to sit in a field and just fire off 9mm rounds into the sky for an hour and a half. Thank you. No, thank you.
I mean, that sounds pretty awesome.
Actually, never
Stalin
mind.
is best
Let's do it.
Georgian.
Let's
That's
do
the
it.
Georgian I am.
Yeah, we are all Georgians now. Yeah, that was another thing. There's again.
I
like,
can say their word. Sorry, we're all Georgians now. Me after listening to ATL, the ATL soundtrack.
This is my last item on John McCain's greatest hits, and it's one of the best. Sarah Palin. For everyone who is, again, all of the liberals and all the journalists who are talking about how he represented some lost sense of decency and honor in American politics, everything that these people hate and fear now, QAnon, Pizzagate, birtherisms, just the general mainstreaming of just absolute ignorant Yahoo conservatism, Sarah Palin opened the door for all of that.
Yep.
He chose her as his running mate, and yeah, way to go, buddy.
Yeah, that's the circus.
Yeah.
He brought the circus to town.
Do you remember that one rally where he's just dying up there, like all the crowds of hooting morons who are just waiting for like Trump and Q to roll around, fucking 8 years later. He's just like, and another thing, gas. Who's sick of it? Just fucking dying. And then he knows he's dying because he's just a lifelong media and crowd operator. And he's like, well, how about Sarah Palin last night? How about her up there? Huh? And then the hooting morons just start cheering. That is the most iconic moment of the McCain campaign for you. Besides suspending his campaign to fix Wall Street, that
was
good. Again, for everyone who is just like, what happened to like the decent Republicans? Where is this lost? These great statesmen of yore, Trump and all of his MAGA people. Sarah Palin, that was exactly 10 years before all of this. She was the mother of tears. He opened that fucking door, and
another amazingly inept, successful person. Like, she really was the preemptor to Trump, where she just kind of like trips over her own dick into success, and she didn't win, but she got far.
But it kind of showed that but by failing to win the office, it showed that she did not have what it took to like keep it going, because now she is genuinely hawking like tummy tea on Instagram. Like, she's just a Instagram thought now, because she just is too lazy and stupid to keep a grift going with the most griftable people on earth. And yet my old ass can be the one heartbeat standing between her and the nuclear button.
This is a bit of a digression, but I kind of appreciate her because, like, you got to figure the other crazies like Michelle Bachmann, all those people from that era, like they still do live this like upper class lifestyle. Their kids still go to prep schools, all this shit, but not the Palins. The Palins are just always like, the dad and son are always getting into fist fights over some snowmobile bullshit.
Bristol keeps just popping out bastard kids one after the other.
They're McMansion white trash.
It's all I am here for it. Like, that is representation for you.
You are here for a messy bitch. You always have been.
I wish they got. Imagine if they were vice president and it was just like someone is on the vice president official Twitter account being like, some people will say they'll be there for you, but they never fucking are. fuck this shit. Listening to Avenged Sevenfold right now.
Amazing.
That would have been like Todd would get a hold of it, then Sarah would get a hold of it. Remember Levi Johnson?
Oh hell yeah!
Oh my
They
god!
fucking brought him at gunpoint to the RNC.
Oh, that was so
I'm
good.
gonna
Also,
make an
if-
honest woman out of her. Don't worry. And then as soon as the camp meeting was over, he was fucking out of there.
But respect to the Palins for really being those pieces of shit. Those
Yeah.
kids are never going to Sidwell friends. They're never. Can you imagine?
Never, no.
Can you imagine them at Yale?
Yeah.
Like, can you they can't hold it.
They're
together.
never gonna work at Goldman Sachs. No.
And
They're gonna send.
They're gonna sell RVs.
Yeah, they're gonna
illegally somehow.
They're gonna try to put Track Palin in like the Skull and Bones initiation ceremony, and he's gonna be like on Instagram Live. Yo, what's up, yo? I can't believe this shit. This is awesome. They wanted me to jack off. That's kind of gay, though.
well,
They're like, stop, turn it off.
well,
That
again,
would be amazing. Michael Hudson would become the #1 journalist of politics in the country.
Yeah, he would finally
the
get
only people that could decode their ways.
Yeah, he would replace Mark Halperin, which is what he
But
deserves.
again, most importantly, Sarah Palin's failed children, unlike John McCain or Bill Clinton's, will be safe from whatever depredations they will inflict
Yeah.
on the U.S. state. We are not safe from Chelsea Clinton and Meghan McCain.
No,
They're coming,
for us,
folks.
yeah.
They're coming for all of us.
I mean, I have to say, Meghan McCain, Chelsea Clinton she's just a dummy. That's it. She's just a dummy, and it's like her main function seems to be writing books like children.
She doesn't seem to have a lot of ambition.
No, she has
which
no ambition.
I feel better about.
She just wants to write books called like The Kid's Guide to Resisting, and like she'll get insulted by like MAGA Pete 1953, who's like, I'm gonna kill you, you stupid bitch, and she does this very student government thing where she quote tweets them and goes, actually, a bitch is a female dog, and most working dogs are very smart, and people are like, that was classy, Chelsea, and it's I don't
I mean,
care,
she's been called ugly since she was a child by
Yeah.
like major media figures. I think she's like, I'm pretty comfortable with the fact that she's going to kind of try to stay out of her hair. That doesn't mean that the Democratic Party isn't going to try and draft
they're
her
going
for
to try.
shit.
They're going to draft her.
But she's like more of the sympathetic character to me than Meghan McCain, who is just like she was.
Oh, yeah.
When she was born, she called the manager of the doctor that delivered her.
Yeah.
She is just, oh my god, what a fucking tyrant. You can tell. You can fucking tell the way she milked. She basically wrung her hands around her dad's spongy tumor for about 6 fucking months. And it just wrung all the sympathy out of us, demanding people apologize for being mean to her dad. Fuck you. I am just so. What a fucking entire. Why is she?
I was
Why does
thinking
she
the
have a
other day
media career?
she's kind of like a divine character from a John Waters movie.
She's dummy thick and just dummy.
I'm still thinking about that thing. People keep posting this as a pro or con about McCain, and we even write about it in our book. Is that rally where this swine woman comes up and goes, "Oh, I heard Obama's an Arab and I heard all these bad things." And
he's an Arab.
Yeah,
She like.
yeah.
Well, what I love about that clip is that woman, like, she felt because she was on camera and had a mic in front of her, she knew like what she was saying wasn't right, so she kind of like mumbled it. She sort of like stopped herself a little bit, and then it just sort of like stopped and paused and then started again. And
we've all been there.
He's an Arab. And he just sort of spit it out real quick, and then he's like, "No, ma'am, no, ma'am. He's a decent person."
And
Then Dr. Nassim Taleb descended from the ceiling and said, "You imbecile!"
Nassim Taleb came down in the fan man rig into the stadium.
Just carrying like a CV receipt of haplogroups, being like, "You absolute imbecile!"
And I see some people defending McCain there and saying, look, I was there at the campaign, I was there at that rally. Here's like the real deal. So McCain was acutely familiar. The campaign knew that their supporters believed that Barack Obama was a scary Muslim. So they knew they had to head that off in the past. And why these media types, these liberals, these centrists, whenever I see them wring their hands and wonder, what happened to the Republican Party, 90% approval rating for Trump, the assumption there is that Donald Trump cast some spell over what was fundamentally a decent chunk of the populace. And that's never been the case. In 2008, McCain's over the summer, or 2007 rather, over the summer, McCain's campaign imploded and really didn't look like he was going to get the nomination. And the two things that really hamstrung him were, one, his opposition to torture, where he was, getting booed at debates for that, and two was because he signed on for amnesty. He signed on for this the aborted immigration reform in 2006. That Shamnesty, 2005, 2006, which really, really riled him up. And the only way that he could inject any kind of passion into his campaign, any kind of enthusiasm, was by, one, appointing Sarah Palin, and two, I mean, winking at what is fundamentally and has always been a white nationalist base of the Republican Party. And 2 years after that, when he was being challenged in a primary, and he was really fighting for his life there against some disgraced former congressman who was doing infomercials.
J.D. Hayworth.
J.D. Hayworth. Yeah, I remember that guy.
That big boy.
Oh, man, he had a big-ass head.
McCain.
He looked like a drunk weatherman.
McCain had to debase himself by playing to the Joe Arpaio base in the Arizona Republican Party, and he was going on TV and saying, well, I think we need to build the damn fence.
Yeah. Complete the damn fence. That was in his campaign ads.
So you get to pick one here. One, he's actually a decent man who's just pandering and lying to his stakeholders who are bigots. Or two, he really believes that.
Either way, he's not an avatar for fucking a way of doing politics that's honorable.
No, there's no dignity in either way.
No.
And that's what I mean when I say the problem isn't Trump. The problem is, and has always been, the Republican Party.
I'd like to transition to some of my favorite media reactions to John McCain's passing that have annoyed the shit out of me. And I'm going to begin with Olivia Nuzzle, who had a great tweet the other day where she basically said, hey, it's not cool or edgy to talk bad about John McCain. You're not Christopher Hitchens. You're just an asshole. Matt, as you rightly pointed out, the categories asshole and Christopher Hitchens not exactly mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
But I mean, if anyone's edgy or cool, it's Olivia Nuzzi, right?
Yeah.
It's this woman who is just born wanting to be on the New York Times editorial masthead, who fucking will just perform any transactional relationship with fucking anybody for anything.
Here's what I think about this. Apparently, Olivia is friends with Meghan McCain. So obviously, if you're friends with someone,
what a shock!
Yeah, obviously, if you're, obviously, friendships often do take precedence over, abstract political principles. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Here's the thing, Olivia. Maybe someone who has not been so well established as being quite also chummy with Milo Yiannopoulos and Ann Coulter should maybe pipe down a little bit about other people being mean to others publicly. And here's the other thing. When I say fuck John McCain, I'm not being edgy. I'm not trying to be cool. I'm being 100% sincere.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm absolutely sincere in that, I think he was a bad person who had a poisonous effect on the world we live in, has caused untold suffering of, countless others, as we've related before. Again, this is sincerity, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to put up with this phony national bathos and mourning. I'm not going to take part in it.
Awful, terrible man who made the world a worse place by far.
And pointing it out it's not just getting likes or retweets. It's not just being edgy or doing like Helen Keller jokes in high school or something. What you're doing is you're pointing out if this is the model of the American politician according to mainstream political discourse, the mainstream media, mainstream members of both parties, and he's this much of a rancid piece of shit, then that tells you what their ideas of what the fucking politics are actually mean.
Well, it's the way this is the American media. Just the language falls apart for them. It completely falls apart. The edgy thing to do is to talk about the implication of this career criminal's foreign policy choices and domestic policy. That's edgy. That's Opie and Anthony. You guys are bros. Sorry, four of the biggest fucking nerds I've ever met in my life are bros. Everything is a bully to me. These are just like transactional worms who have wanted to be inside, on the inside of a social circle forever, and all their resentments just sort of fucking shoot. It's like a guy doing nofap, cutting himself shaving, and just cum shooting out. anytime that they have any disagreement with somebody, any interaction with someone who isn't like them, someone who hasn't wanted this since they were fucking 12, it just comes out. It comes out their lack of socialization, their complete alienation from the normal world. That everything I don't like is, it's a bro, it's edgy, It's shock jockery. It's just completely alien to anyone else. These people are fucking freaks.
She brought up Christopher Hitchens, who shit on a lot of dead people. He was quite good at that. Pat Robertson, among the best, or Falwell. No, it was Falwell. He had a great media hit for. He was rude and mean to a lot of people who died. But then again, it was also funny as hell when Christopher Hitchens died. I'm sorry. Every one of these,
Christopher Hitchens would be fine with people laughing at his death.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm sorry. Every one of these Iraq's war supporters, when they die, I'm not saying kill them, but I'm saying when an 80-plus-year-old man dies of cancer, that's sort of like, that's just nature taking its course. Christopher Hitchens was a drunk who smoked 10 packs of cigarettes a day his entire life. Him dying is not some huge fucking tragedy. When every single one of these Iraq war supporters, these fucking ghouls, dies for whatever reason, it's funny and good, and the world is a better place. Next, Ross Douthat.
Oh,
Ross Douthat had a really funny one.
Ross the boss.
He was going on and he said, he says here, I also can't condemn McCain. It's a long thread with he's sharing his thoughts on McCain. He goes, I also can't condemn McCain's choice of Palin in 2008 because I sort of urged it upon him at the time.
Oh,
She was, oh my God. She was chosen. She was chosen.
I like how he owns that.
Well, she goes,
Good for you, Ross.
Yeah, actually, I gotta say, like, Ross has sort of grown on me in a way. Is like one of these. I think he's a little bit more honest than most of these other media.
Ross is at least
gremlins.
I'm also enjoying the later Orson Welles style do that.
Oh, the Palins.
Ross is at least like a character. He at least has he has a personality. Like I pretty much know everyone else you're going to have on this list, and they just all like their personality is being like
Nazi has no principles. She's just a chin.
Their personality is just being like, oh, it's Wednesday and I've had 3 beers, fake news. Like, just so depressing. But Ross, wrote this entire book where he's a cursed child. He was a cursed Damien child, and he goes to Yale and freaks out when
Harvard.
He doesn't have to wear a condom.
Oh, they went on the road trip.
Or Harvard, when he's at Harvard and he doesn't have to put on a condom. He gets molested by William Buckley. There's it's like the movie Sideways.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. But the rest of the people on this list, they're just the lowest. They're lower. Chivers have significantly more personality than any of these fucking media
I'm not
cretins.
drinking any of Buckley's cum.
Getting my ass fingered on a yacht. That's just fucking great. Fucking great. No, he goes, I can't condemn McCain's choice of Palin because I sort of urged it upon him at the time. She was chosen to be something other than what she turned out to be on the basis of a record that implied strengths she turned out to lack.
She was a governor of a state that's just a fucking oil pipeline and just the world's largest TGI Fridays, and you're gonna for 2 years, and you're like, yep, she's gonna do it.
Yeah, the state of Alaska has a naturally occurring Avengers flat brim hat on top of it.
The best thing to be said about McCain's record is that he took being a senator seriously. He appreciated the powers of his office.
What does that mean?
Again, I don't know what that means.
He sat behind his desk.
Yeah.
He went choo choo.
Yeah, it's what is it like? What were there just are there 90 other senators who are just fuck off senators who are just oh damn, I forgot to go to work today.
Sherrod Brown shows up in board shorts.
Yeah.
Going down the halls of the Senate on a longboard.
Yeah, he's
Radical.
Oh, dude, I've accidentally been going to the agriculture building for 7 years. Fuck, I'm up for re-election. I forgot.
So he goes, he appreciated the powers of his office and tried to exploit them to the hilt for his conception of the common good. Not something you can say of many of his colleagues. And he goes on to go, I cannot find the link, but Ramesh Ponnuru wrote a piece back in 2007, 2008 about McCain's politics of honor that I think was one of the best measures of the man. He was our most Roman legislator, for good or ill or both. That's Pizzagate.
Yeah.
He's talking about Pizzagate.
Yeah, I was about to say Mark Foley was their most Roman legislator.
I mean, I think his record shows McCain probably would have loved to have owned slaves if they'd given him the option.
But Ev, Agent Napoleon, pointed this out. Actually, calling him our most Roman senator is actually very befitting of him. Son of a big military man who, took that position seriously to also engage in imperial warfare, slaughtering entire populations of people who are, resisting our giant imperial death machine.
Bring Cathay under our heel.
Didn't do a very good job of even doing that, if we're going to be honest.
He sucked.
He sucked shit at that. And then, went into a career in politics where he talked endlessly about honor and service, but basically only was motivated by self-aggrandizement.
Yep.
So that sounds
Pretty tidy, yeah.
Pretty Roman to
Good
me.
job.
Also, he got that Emperor Vitellius neck waddle.
So that's rust out there. My last of my favorite McCain death reactions is I'm going to cut the opposite way. Did you guys see Ben Garrison's cartoon?
King.
I didn't see it.
Okay, Amber.
Dude, you are in for a treat. Show her, then we'll describe it to the audience. You have to just see it.
It's really weird that this is anywhere other than DeviantArt. Like, it's strange to me what becomes successful in this kind of obviously weird sexual fantasy.
The whole world is kind of a big DeviantArt at this point.
No, DeviantArt has bled into the real world, and the process we're in is just the process of the DeviantArtification of the entire world.
Amber, would you describe this cartoon?
Okay. So he's in a plane that is going into a grave that is Senator Songbird McCain is how it is engraved. His head is exploding on fire, which I don't know if they meant that to be a literal reference to like his cause of death or what.
I think it is.
Like,
What is he saying though?
he's saying go to hell.
Oh, dude, that
And he's very
rules.
angry. He's trying to sort of portray him as like a Slim Pickens.
Steam is coming
type.
out of his
Yeah.
ear. It's a giant head that is exploding and on fire in a jet plane flying into an open grave.
That's what.
It's
If
so
I
weird.
could draw, I wish that's awesome, Ben.
It's so weird.
That's
how-
what Ben
Plus.
Garrison thinks cancer looks like when you open someone up.
This is like Goya to me.
It's beautiful.
it's so
absolutely
weird
beautiful.
how a political movement that is able to fucking identify its own enemies and appropriately hate them is more successful than one that seems to not even know what that means.
Oh my God.
You know what? It's
Ben
like,
Garrison Pulitzer Prize.
No, you know what? They're talking the New York Times and the
This is
Atlantic.
like Art Spiegelman. I mean,
Yeah, the New York Times and the Atlantic, like if they want to actually represent conservative voices, just give half the op-ed space to a Ben Garrison cartoon. Just give him that job because no one in America believes what Brett Stevens believes or any of these people. Ben Garrison represents millions of people.
No, there's a solid third of the country that is
Yeah.
completely on board with all of Ben Garrison's QAnon white
Again,
nationalism shit.
this is what real conservatives think about John McCain. This is how they regard him.
Yes.
If they have no respect for him, there's no reason for you to either.
We're better than them, sir.
Amber, you said it's like Art Spiegelman. I'm now imagining Ben Garrison's mouse, but all the mice just have Jew written on them. And the cats have not German. Nazi. I mean, do you guys have any other favorite media reactions to John McCain?
We already talked about the Anna Navarro one.
That one was top
Oh
notch.
my- Anna Navarro has to be one of the worst posters of all time. Just it's like she's an auteur because she just always comes up with. Me and my friends spend a lot of time like trying to make each other vomit, basically with like fake posts and stuff.
Where's
And
Ernest?
just-
Ernest, come here.
There's your
Come
baby.
here, buddy.
Oh, poor buddy. But Anna Navarro just always. Didn't she have the one where she like took her 23andMe and she was like 0.04% African and she was like, I knew I was a sister, and it was like because I hate Trump, and it was like, oh my god, like fucking
Yeah.
not just delete this, let's just wipe out the servers.
Anna
Like,
Navarro. I may not be a classic 80s side-scrolling action arcade game, but I've spent a lot of time playing Contra.
yeah, it's
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It was a bummer seeing Bernie Sanders and AOC do the thing.
Yeah. What do you
And
expect?
people say, yeah, but the thing is, people say, yeah, you got to say something. You can't shit post if you're in Congress. As much as I love it, but like you don't have to go that far. You don't have to call him a paragon of human decency. You really fucking don't. No one in your district is going to punish you for saying that. No. We're not saying anything at all about this fucking
You could
asshole.
not say something.
Yeah, you could just not.
Sometimes you just don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Or just say your thoughts and prayers or whatever.
Yeah,
Everyone gets away
like
with
Trump
that
did.
all the time. Everyone gets away with that.
Like Trump had a less disgusting. He had the least nauseating political tweet about this asshole, where he's just like thoughts and prayers with the family. All you got to do.
And then he put a picture of his own hot body with it to make up for it.
I don't know if you guys saw.
Here were my favorite reactions. Then this is generic. One, it's all the liberals who posted about what a hero he was and how decent and honorable the man was, and then the next day, after this horrible shooting happened in Jacksonville, just start posting, hashtag fuck the NRA. We're gonna do it this time. We're gonna get rid of the guns. Just what a day hence they're praising the senator who took the most from the NRA, upwards of $12 million.
You guys, Anna Navarro has a lot of John McCain tweets.
Oh, she loved him.
Like a lot of them. This one is just, Dear Cindy McCain, a grief-stricken nation thanks you and your family for sacrificing your own time for him and sharing John McCain with the rest of us. She thinks she thinks America is the third.
It's the polycule.
It's a 320 million person polycule.
Oh
By the way,
the whole team gonna hit.
I guarantee you that Cindy McCain loved it every time that asshole left the fucking house. He's on record as just being a fucking cruel prick to her.
Oh my God, do you think anyone has ever wiped off as much flop sweat? No, actually, she's probably got the Botox, so she can't sweat in her forehead.
Sweat,
but then Cindy McCain, after John died, Jesus Christ, dude.
She's gonna eat, pray, love her way around the world.
Oh, yeah.
And good luck, sister. Have fun.
Oh, geez.
What a family. What a fucking family, the McCains. Right. And we're stuck with them forever.
Oh, yeah.
Hope you guys like him. Soon the Troop McCain, like his son that volunteered for Iraq and somehow didn't crash his Bradley fighting vehicle into a bottomless pit. Where he's gonna come back. He's gonna have him.
Megan and Ben Domino are gonna hatch some cursed egg using DNA wizardry and create some immortal monster that's in the Senate for the rest of eternity.
Right, they're going to create the ultimate wedding crashers conservative. They're going to create this child who's born dabbing for the deficit. It's going to be the worst shit ever.
Nah, they'd have to have sex first.
He's going to come out with a shiny bowl cut.
No, I nominate Megan to fill her dad's seat. That's going to rule when she votes for some bill to convert the poor into slurry. And everyone gets mad at her and she says, my dad died. And my God tells me that I'm doing the right thing here. You cannot criticize me. And all the fucking suckers like Joe and Walsh are going to sign on to it.
Virgil, you talk about all the suckers are going to lap it up. I want to return to where we began, which is, my question is, why are all these liberals so tore up about this? Why are they having this performative thing of, he was a good man, even if I didn't agree with him politically? And my advice for them is, he certainly didn't like or respect you. There's not a single person in the conservative media who would extend you or any of your faves the same level of decency. If Obama dropped dead tomorrow, there's not a single person in the right-wing press or politics who would wait even a second before they started gloating or critiquing his legacy at the very least.
I'll just go back to their obits for Ted Kennedy.
Yeah, obits for Ted Kennedy. Or, if Bernie Sanders died tomorrow, and all of these same people, all of the centrists, all the right-wing people would take a big shit all over him. And you know what? I will be the last person to say, how dare you, or don't do that, or that's not fair. I would expect nothing less from them. I'd be fucking disappointed if they started talking about what a good and decent person he was.
Yeah,
that means he wasn't a fucking threat to them.
Say who you really are.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So if I see you respecting Bernie Sanders after he died, I'm going to be right there, first reply under your tweet going, this ain't it, chief.
That's a yikes from me.
Yeah, it's a big yikes for me, fam.
So I guess my advice for them, or just my message to them at the end of this show is, free yourself from this high school play pageantry of politics. As Matt has said many times before, we live in the age of Horus now.
Yep.
Everything is permitted, nothing is forbidden.
Absolutely.
They hate you, and they would never extend you the same courtesy. And this idea that what they're
liberating.
What they're going for with this is they don't really like John McCain. They don't really like this person. If they ever met him, I'm sure they would be, they'd be rude to them. They'd be terrified of him. What they're doing is they want this they think they're going to cash out if they just do enough performance of dignity and virtue that that the other side will finally respect them. No, they won't.
Yeah, you collect those fucking tokens at the game, and then you go and you get a big stuffed animal called comedy out of it.
You collect the tickets. You collect the tickets.
Yeah,
you use the tokens to play the game,
and then you get a big stuffed animal at the end of it that reassures you that, you know what, we're better than them. Yeah. No, you're not. You're not better than them. You're weaker than them because you have no power. If you did, you wouldn't be bleeding on about how unfair it is to be mean to him or what a good man he was. If you had power like they do, you would say and do what you want, and you would make sure that the historical record reflected what you actually believed. You don't really believe in any of this. You're just doing, like I said, a high school play of what you think a smart political person should do.
Well, and they think that someday, if they simper long enough, they will be rewarded.
Yeah, they think that eventually they'll the mass of people will see the one side being so awful and so partisan and so small-minded, and they'll see the other side being always so reasonable and always willing to extend a hand.
Not just by the public, though. Not just by the public. They think their enemies will someday respect them rolling over and showing their bellies.
It's Rick Perlstein said this. It's the liberal fantasy, the liberal crucible fantasy of the last 70 years is the fucking 12 Angry Men. It's Henry Fonda and 12 Angry Men being the one voice of reason and logic and compassion in a room full of people riven by prejudice and small-mindedness and greed, who just by being decent, by being decent over and over again, eventually turns them all to your side. And it has never literally once worked for anyone.
Yeah, you will never grovel your way into being respected. Get off your knees.
Like I said, you'll feel better. It's much funner.
It's great.
Just like I said, you're free.
Frag out.
You're free.
But this is another one where you could just sort of divide the people. The people who take this shit seriously, it's like, yes, they have this fantasy of comedy in their head and this delusion that they can politeness their way into power and respect, but also, at base, a lot of them, they don't have a problem with the John McCain view of the world. They don't have a problem with conservative governance. They just want it to have a sheen of compassion over it, a sheen of bipartisan cooperation. The fantasy that these are people operating out of good intentions for the betterment of all, instead of just this endlessly humiliating and dehumanizing capitalist process of stripping everything of all dignity and meaning until we're just fucking slurry.
Right. And so that thing for them, McCain often voted for Trump's agenda, and he was sort of pretty much ideologically in line with him. That just doesn't process for a lot of them, because it's like McCain and Trump are the two polar opposites for them, because it's how politics feels to them. With Trump, it feels worse. With McCain, at least it feels like they can live the rest of their lives, when really their lives are totally unaffected. They could just read the news less if they want to feel less bad. Even though it would be the same outcome had McCain won.
These are people that beat off to the Western Front Christmas ceasefire. That to them is a success. That's what success is.
I mean,
it's
it would
not
have
crushing
been
your enemies.
I mean, the Christmas truce would have been cool if, when their officers showed up and said, "Get back in the trenches," they'd fucking shot them.
Well, let's leave it there for this week.
One little postscript: no matter who it is, Cindy, Megan, Joe Arpaio, Kelly Ward, because John McCain didn't have the foresight to resign his seat when his brain was pretty much half mush at that point. An unelected Republican will be sitting in that seat till 2020 and will vote for all of Trump's agenda. Blue wave.